Who exactly are Lo and Lee? Lo and Lee are two old ladies from the Fire Nation, and they're identical twins. And Azula respects them a lot because Lo and Lee give Azula advice on her firebending, and they make comments on Azula's lightning bending. That's the first scene we see of them. So, who are these old ladies? Because Azula wouldn't just let anyone comment on her firebending. She's way too proud and has high standards, so why is Azula listening to them? And Lo and Lee are the ones who told Azula to slim down her group and have a small group when she's chasing Iroh and Zuko. So that's why Azula goes to Mei and Ty Lee and gets them to be in her group, because Lo and Lee told her to. And Firelord Ozai clearly trusts Lo and Lee because Ozai made Lo and Lee advisors to Azula. Ozai had Lo and Lee travel with Azula. Ozai also had Lo and Lee sort of babysit Azula, Zuko, Ty Lee, and Mei when they were on Ember Island. So why are Lo and Lee, two old ladies, why do they get so much respect in the Fire Nation? Oh, and by the way, we later find out that Lo and Lee are not even firebenders, and yet in the first scene we saw of them, they were giving Azula advice on her firebending. It's just so weird. They're not even firebenders, but they're giving Azula, one of the best firebenders, advice on her firebending. So, what's going on? So there's a theory that Lo and Lee are Sozin's daughters. There's a theory that Lo and Lee are Firelord Azulan's sisters. And this is a very plausible theory. I mean, I would think that this would be mentioned if it were true. And it would also be on the family tree. Lo and Lee should be on the family tree with Sozin and Azulan if this were the case. And seeing as how they're not on the family tree and it's not even mentioned, I don't think they are. And also, Azula doesn't really respect Azulan. She basically just made fun of Azulan and said that Azulan would probably die soon and that someone else would be Firelord. So if Azula didn't even respect Azulan, I don't think Azula would necessarily respect Azulan's sisters. So for those few reasons, I'm not sure that Lo and Lee are Azulan's sisters. And secondly, Lo and Lee don't seem to be that rich, personally, because during the Ember Island, the beach episode, when Zuko, Ty Lee, Mei, and Azula go to Ember Island, they go to Lo and Lee's house, and Lo and Lee's house is incredibly small, and you can see that Zuko, Azula, Mei, and Ty Lee are incredibly disappointed by how small Lo and Lee's house is. So if they were rich, they would be living in a much bigger house. If they were members of the royal family, they'd be rich and they'd be living in a bigger house. So very small house. And there is another theory that Lo and Lee are or were Azulan's concubines. That could certainly be true, and obviously in real life, kings and queens had lots of concubines, so it could certainly be true. However, if Lo and Lee were Azulan's concubines, I don't think Ozai would like them. I don't think Firelord Ozai would like them, because in real life, when kings are dealing with their father's concubines, when they're dealing with the previous king's concubines, they're not that nice. Oftentimes, the concubines of the previous king might be banished or done away with. So, because obviously, first of all, the concubines of the previous king, the concubines of the king's father, could pose a threat to the throne, and also, if they're concubines, they're probably not the mother of the new king, so, although sometimes they are, but, so the new king would want to get rid of them. And we're led to believe, and we know that Ozai's mom is Ayla. Ayla was Azulan's wife, Ozai's mom, so if Lo and Lee were Azulan's concubines, then Ozai would not like Lo and Lee too much, and there's probably little chance that he would trust Lo and Lee to babysit Azula and give her comments and be her advisor. So I don't think they're his concubines either. So who are these people? Maybe they're not rich, and they're not concubines, and they're not sisters of anyone in the royal, they're not related to anyone in the royal family. So Who are they? I mean, I have no idea. No idea. My guess is they're just probably very smart people who come off as intimidating and they talk together. So maybe Ose's like, oh yeah, they kind of seem cool, so I guess I'll trust them or something. And then Azula's like, oh yeah, they kind of seem cool and funny, so whatever. I would love a scene with Iroh and Lo and Lee. I would love to see how Iroh interacts with Lo and Lee and how Lo and Lee interact with Iroh. But yes, no clue who Lo and Lee are, but their identity remains a mystery.